it's meant to look like a Countach, but it's a Fiero. It's got either the Tech 4 in it, or it's got a V6. Even worse than that, you get like some of these early GT40 kit cars, and they got a Volkswagen engine in there.
Yeah.
So you're taking this like Le Mans winning iconic masterpiece of a car and putting 68 horsepower in the back of it.
Yeah.
So it's
they
not
didn't
doing
care
anything
about
it's supposed to do.
performance. Just the look.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be that
That's
guy.
almost an insult.
Yeah.
Ready.
Okay, sweet.
Tim's bringing fire this week. Fucking, I don't know how.
I'm excited to find
Dude,
out.
He's gonna fucking light something up. He's got a Molotov in the background. He's ready to toss.
Oof, I am excited, and I have done some research for this topic too, so it's gonna be fun. Okay.
Well, thank goodness one of us did.
Oh my gosh. Okay, welcome to another episode of Modify with TrickFactory Customs. If this is your first time watching, we are a custom shop based here in Coquitlam, Automotive Colombia. Automotive Colombia is another thing.
Yeah.
We're a shop based here in Coquitlam, British Columbia, Canada, and my name is Tim. No, what is happening today?
I don't know.
What is happening? My name is not Tim. My name is Elvis.
I'm Tim.
And I'm D'Artagnan.
Oh, that's a good
not
one.
Bad, not bad.
Hey,
That's a good one.
So,
Someone
Wow, where
did
did you
their
get that
homework
name
this week.
from? Yeah.
It's one of the Three Musketeers, man.
Oh, D'Artagnan. I also remembered him from Stranger Things.
I'm Rob. Just in case.
D'Artagnan was
D'Artagnan, I'm not that cool.
what's that? Have you guys seen Stranger Things?
No.
Yes.
Okay. There was the thing from the Upside Down, the creature. D'Artagnan. That was what
No, it
the
wasn't
kid named him.
D'Artagnan.
That's what the kid named him.
Are you sure? No.
Yes, Dustin.
No, we're Googling it.
No,
right
we're
now. It was not D'Artagnan.
It was D'Artagnan. It was Dart for sure.
No, it was from some role-playing game there.
No, it's no, not the bad guy. His dog, his pet or whatever was called Dart. By the way, this is an automotive
name?
podcast.
So if anybody's curious, this kind of stuff happens all day, every day.
It's D'Artagnan. The other thing was
You're right, it is D'Artagnan.
Thank you.
Referred to
Thank
as
you.
Dart.
Exactly.
Was a creature originating from the Upside Down.
Exactly. The other, I know we were talking about the other thing.
The other thing. What was the name of the other thing?
Not the Mind Flayer.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, you
we're
missed
drifting a little bit.
Yeah, we drifted a lot a bit.
Should be talking about cars.
Good thing we got Google sorted out right away. Back in the day, we used to just fist fight.
Yeah,
True, I know. And then anyone that wins, that's what sticks. Oh my gosh. And on today's episode, it's going to be interesting because we are talking about, it's sort of a controversial-ish topic with some groups of people, but we're talking about kit cars. But we're also talking about replicas. There's a bunch of stuff. If you don't know what a kit car is,
Tributes.
Yes, tribute. We're going to be discussing everything about cars that are not cars or cars that are not what they seem. So if you don't know about kit cars, that term is tossed around loosely. It started back in it started a long time ago, but I feel like it became popular with cars like the Lamborghini Countach, which we have right here if you're watching us on video.
GT40.
Yeah, Ford GT40. There's quite a few other cars. So pretty much in essence, a kit car from back in the day was when someone...
I think it started with kit cars was more like the Manx and those little...
Oh, Myers-Manx. Yeah,
those were
the Beetle.
Kit cars, like
all based on the Beetle.
As a kit.
Yes.
And you built it off of a Beetle.
Yes.
So I think that's where the terminology of kit car came from.
Yes.
And then it transitioned into like replicas.
Yes. And so so replicas, I think, there are kit car, replicas are essentially kit cars, but a part of kit cars, I think.
Yeah, I think that it's got pretty vast. It covers a lot of things now.
Yes.
But I think it originated with those type of beach buggy.
Yes.
Like you bought a kit and you built the car.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of replicas, you can put anything in them.
Yeah.
They're not really, they're more like a rebody almost.
Oh, we're also going to be talking about that. So rebodies, tribute cars, clones, recreations, everything. It's going to be a very comprehensive episode. Ooh. So buckle up and let's get started.
Back to work.
So, but before we dive into that, let us just chat about the week. What's been going on all week?
basically recovery from our event. And then now we got into the new space, so we've just been pounding stuff out all week, getting caught up. So it's been pretty good because a lot of things that have been lingering are getting out the door, and we're getting things finished up, and we're getting some of our space back. So yeah, it's been a pretty good week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, we got a new shop, or we extended the shop to include a third shop.
We
now.
have 3 shops now.
Yeah.
A dedicated paint
Body shop.
and body shop now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we used to have paint and body in-house with the fab shop and, all in that one facility. And, it was very dirty. Everybody was kind of like tripping over each other a little bit. Now we have a very dedicated paint and body area. It's super, super nice. Keeps that all contained.
Yep.
Very efficient. So that's we're working towards that level of efficiency. What we're trying in the OG shop, but now we leveled up. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool, and that opens up a lot more floor space in our we call it our second shop. Our main workshop is going to be wide open now. So now we got our heads together. We're trying to figure out where we're going to go next. We're talking potentially a lot more CNC machines and things of that nature, a lot more mechanics kind of stuff as well. I don't know.
We just got a 3D scanner.
Yeah.
We just got an Einstar from Shining 3D. We just got a 3D scanner in, and so Alex has been, our 3D guy has been playing with it, and he just scanned your Porsche yesterday.
The Porsche slant nose wide body that we built. Yeah, so we did a one-off wing.
It was from a
993 turbo wing that was retrofitted and modified in a way to fit the 996 wide body cabriolet. So it's entirely different, its own unique thing, and it has intake scoops in it that needed some sort of grill, like a finish bezel and all that. Well, because it was all handmade, it was like a little bit uniquely shaped from one side to another. They both look identical, but they're dimensionally slightly different. So we reached out to Shining 3D. They hooked us up with an Einstar, and we've had our hands on it. And yeah, so far so good. It's a great tool. I mean, before we owned this thing in-house, we would have to farm that kind of work out. We would get people to come in, scan everything, and do all that. And that's just the way it was for us for a little while.
Which we probably still have to do for bigger stuff.
Yeah,
more important things, because this one has its limitations, but it's been working really good for small interior pieces and bezels and just dimensioning things. So it's been pretty handy. It's been a learning curve, obviously, but I haven't got to play much with it. But Alex, our engineer, he seems to be liking it. So
yeah, I mean, and so same for me. Like, I played around with it for just a couple of little times, and I'm not really a tech kind of person. I'm not that familiar with it. I'm not comfortable. It's not my space, and it was easy enough for me to use. So that's pretty cool. So any one of us could grab it and just follow the instructions on screen and use it. That's pretty cool. But like you said, we will still use outside sources on occasion if we're like scanning something really, really important, like really, really high tolerance stuff, because this scanner is really good, but what's
the accuracy? It has a millimeter?
0.2 of a mil is kind of like a measured accuracy.
That's way beyond what you need for your average interior parts. But I mean, once you start getting into like high tolerance stuff, like engine pieces, suspension pieces, you kind of want it to be perfect.
Yeah. And so it fits our needs.
For the price point, it's a pretty cool tool to have.
Yeah.
Because even in the time that we've had it, our little print farm has just been
running.
The robots haven't stopped working. So I mean, it's been really good.
So yeah, it fit that need exactly for us. So, Alex has got that little farm just churning. So it's pretty sick. So that's kind of what we've been working on lately, and it's good. Sort of just getting rid of, all the stuff we've been hoping to get done.
Sweet.
And moving forward.
Yes. Awesome.
So that's what we've been doing.
Nice. And I've been working on, apart from video stuff and all the editing and all of that, my Jag engine, my LS. Yes. So that's going really well. It is. Some parts are almost ready for paint. So I just sandblasted some components, the coil brackets and some other components this week. And so hopefully I should be getting the paint actually next week.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll try to rattle can spray bomb that thing.
You had to put a bunch of work into prepping that engine and trans
Yes.
for
Plus,
this.
you don't get to decide when it's ready for paint.
No.
That's going to go before the board.
Yeah.
True. True. I feel like I have been covered in rust dust for the past week. I've just been taking, because I parked the car with the engine in the field, and now that I've learned, that's not very good for cars.
The worst possible scenario.
So moisture got everywhere and rusted off the iron block a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I also made another mistake. So if you don't know, it's an LM7.
LM7.
So it's a 5.3 LS technically motor, and so it's iron block. And I did not know this until you guys told me. But you're not supposed to technically put just raw water in the coolant spaces, where coolant goes in the pretty much block. And so there was quite a bit of rust that had built up from it just sitting down in the block. And so I'm going to have to do a lot of flushing. Like, it's a mess right now. There's just rusty water. So it's not, hopefully I didn't destroy anything inside.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Elvis. I mean, when you say, like, you can put just straight water in there if you want to, right? And if you go on a racetrack, a lot of times that's all you're allowed to do. Like, you're not, they don't want you to have coolant in there.
Interesting.
Just straight water, right? Just in case it blows
leaks
up on the
out.
track.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
The only issue that you had was that it just sat for a while.
Sat, yeah.
But what you are lucky and probably aren't aware is that if that thing froze over the winter, it split that block wide open.
Oh,
right.
It probably did, though.
No.
Well, you're lucky that it didn't get cold enough to do that.
No, where we live here, it doesn't get cold enough
for long enough for that.
For long enough.
Oh, really?
For that to be a thing.
Okay, that's good.
No. So you're fine.
You could.
I feel like it already happened because it got really cold and everything froze.
You probably didn't have enough water in it to, like, if it was full and it was sitting and you let it get, and it stayed freezing for 3, 4, 5 days.
Oh gosh,
there's a good chance you'd crack your block.
You're my gosh! Oh, so I'm probably gonna look for a hole in the block at some point.
It'd be very obvious. If you had one, you would know.
Yeah, you would know because there would be a giant fucking rusty leak down the side of your engine. Okay. So because you don't have that, you're fine.
Okay, I'm scared a little bit, but
no, you're fine. No.
It's fine. Awesome.
It would be pretty obvious.
Okay, that's good.
But like all the effort that you put into prepping that engine, that trans, and everything, all your accessories. Just imagine how much nicer that's going to look now.
I know, because I did it once. I didn't really prep it much, and it's all falling apart now. So
I think we're probably 3, maybe 4 sessions since you originally thought you were done. And then either me or Rob come over and be like, no. You need to keep going.
What are you going to do about this? You can't leave it like that.
Oh, gosh. Yes. I have learned a lot of lessons in these past few weeks.
Well.
So...
But the finished product is going to be worth it.
Oh, yeah. That's what I keep telling him. I'm like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be glorious.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
So, and I think I'm getting to that point now of like, when I see something, I'm like, oh, this is going to do so much better if I just put all the time and effort into it now and not worry about it later.
I mean, what's more important than being able to go home at the end of your day, whatever you've done, and be like, I'm proud of what I did today because I fucking checked the box and I'm moving the needle forward.
So much of, like, you saw the 55. 55 is a perfect example. You pop the hood, that thing looks like a show car.
Yeah.
That's essentially a stock LT1. But we put all the time and effort into refinishing it and making it look the way that it does. But when you open it, it looks full custom.
Yeah.
There's nothing really custom about it. It's just time and effort had been put in.
See, we did talk about this in a podcast before, though, right? About, like, effort and customs. Like, if you put effort into refinishing, a lot of the times you don't need to buy expensive parts if you just put the effort into the refinishing.
True.
Because that LT1 in that 55 Bel Air is one of those kind of examples where it's like, dang, that looks fucking mint.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's really not that expensive of a setup in that car, but it looks expensive because of that effort, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to push you to do and sort of like instill that within yourself. If you put that effort forward now, the end result is going to be worth it.
Yes, I agree. So far.
Which brings us to Kit Cars and why they're such absolute trash.
No.
Yo.
Wow.
Nobody puts the effort in.
He just started. Yeah. It depends on the trash you're talking about. I don't think all Kit Cars are trash.
No. I'd say traditionally they're trash.
Yes.
But I would say now, because I actually follow a bunch of replica pages.
Me too.
The level that in which people are doing stuff to now is like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like absolutely
Good or bad?
mind blowing. Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Some stuff is like people are putting. I would say some of the stuff they're producing now is better than the original.
Really?
I think that's pretty safe to say.
Okay.
I think
Like,
that's pretty
I saw
safe
some
to say.
pretty incredible replicas.
Yeah.
Like, just insane. Like insane.
Yeah. Some
Which
of that.
is inspiring to me because, you know, there's a lot of different body styles that are amazing aesthetically, but they were shitty cars.
Like what?
Like a Countach.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
He said it.
If you think about what any of the like Countaches, Old Fries, any of the like the classics, like the handmade classics, they were skin deep. They looked really cool from afar, and they really were. They were pieces of artwork. I'm not trying to say they weren't, but everything underneath it was very like kind of left a lot to be desired. Like visually, they looked like shit. They worked, but they look like shit.
Yeah,
and
but
kit cars
they were
nowadays,
built for a purpose. So like the Testarossa, if I didn't know better, and I took it apart now, I would think that was a kit car.
So true.
no, that's true, right? And that's the thing.
So true.
It's just box tubing and welding and this and that, but that
nice.
car in that era was more about its drivetrain, and that was like one of his mandates.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Because
aerodynamics is for people that can't build engines.
Yeah.
So it's like you look at the foundation of the car, like the motor, trans, suspension, brakes, incredible for its time.
Yeah.
But everything that held it together, like you pull interior panels out and it's like Giuseppe signed the back of it, and it's made out of shitty fiberglass with a
Giuseppe.
little aluminum tab, and like it's bad. Like it looks like bad interior work that we fix now, but that was
crazy.
Ferrari in its time.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because I think you were talking about this when we were looking at Testarossa, but like they built the cars to go racing. Like they only built them because they had to go racing, and so
So the street cars were not that nice.
No.
Like in this era, now they're amazing. But
Yeah.
in that era, like even right up to the Gallardo is not very impressive once you pull the panels off. Like there's just enough structure there to make it
stay
work.
together.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cars like that.
That's
The
so
first time I
crazy.
saw an early Viper, it looked like someone was building a utility trailer and just put a giant motor in it. It's like big box sections. That's
Oh,
the
no.
most rudimentary chassis you ever seen.
Yeah.
By today's standards, it's like shit. You whip that up in a weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so you get like these replicas, these kit cars, these things nowadays, and you're like, especially from like the classic sort of design era, if you just bought one of those, put it on some sort of like modern chassis with like today's mentality of building, man, you could create something 10 times more significant looking and like finish wise than it ever was in its OG state. Like hands down, without question, you could do it.
Yeah.
And it would be totally worth doing.
Yeah. And there's like so there's different types of, like we mentioned, it's not just people, I feel like confuse the names a lot too, like these days, because there's different types of these different cars. So like we talked about kit cars. So back in the day, there was like stuff of like, the not Murcielago, whatever, Countach, different Ferraris and all of that. But I feel like now kit cars have become, like, at least the name to me is synonymous with, if you want a car that is, I don't know, it's built for a purpose, one purpose only, like to probably go faster, and you want it cheap too. And sometimes it's based on something. Sometimes it can be a replica.
I would say that's the biggest disconnect, and the thing that is the most offensive to me about kit cars.
What?
Is their lack of performance. 90% of them are built to an aesthetic. It's meant to look like a Countach, but it's a Fiero. It's got either the Tech 4 in it, or it's got a V6.
But what about companies like Superformance or that do
that's
stuff
the
like
whole
the
another
F40?
level. And then now with those cars, you're approaching like the value of the actual car.
Yeah.
like they make an amazing product. I've seen it in person, and it's like, but those are not cheap.
No.
Those are like 250, 300 grand cars. And it's like, but those cars are probably better than the original.
Oh, by far.
I think for sure
by
that's
far.
it's
So, I mean,
super
you
safe
get the
to say that.
aesthetic, but you get modern performance. They
Yes.
put modern brakes in it. They put modern suspension in it. fuel injection, all these things that make that an enjoyable car, which makes sense to me because that's what you want.
Yep.
You want everything that car represents to you.
Yep.
Whereas some of these Countach kit cars, or even worse than that, you get like some of these early GT40 kit cars, and they got a Volkswagen engine in there.
Yeah.
So you're taking this like Le Mans winning iconic masterpiece of a car and putting 68 horsepower in the back of it.
Yeah.
So it's
they
not
didn't
doing
care
anything it's
about
supposed to do. Yeah,
performance, just the look. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be that
that's
guy.
almost an insult
Yeah.
to what its history is.
Yeah.
It's the same as the Countach. Like, you want to hear and feel that thing come by, and then it goes by with a clapped out V6. And that's not cool.
No, that's not cool at all, man.
No.
That's insulting.
Yeah. But like some of these kit cars are not as expensive as like Superformance is one that I feel like it's like on the high end.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't even call those kit cars, really. Those are kind of like
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 what do you-
tribute cars.
Yeah.
almost.
Oh, that's a good.
That would be like on par
word.
with my Evo.
Yeah.
Like, I would, if I had to classify my Evo, it would be like a tribute car.
No, but I think with tribute cars, the difference between that and like kit cars is you don't start out with nothing. Like with tribute cars, you start out with something. Like for example, your Mercedes, you
Right.
started out with a 190E, but I don't think like Superformance and all that, they start with a GT40. I think they build the body from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like even Factory 5 or all
Yeah.
those other cars, they build the body from scratch. So I feel like if it's a tribute car, same thing with our RSR car too. It's a tribute car. We're building a Porsche RSR out of a 911 SC. And so with that car, what is it a tribute towards? Like the RSR, was it like stuff that went racing or?
Yeah, that was like a race car.
Okay.
So that's a perfect classification for that car, is because it's actually newer than when that car was ever produced. So it's a tribute to a very specific time in racing.
Okay.
But we're using a late model, like a later
Chassis,
model chassis.
yeah.
So it's got a better engine, bunch of different, I wouldn't necessarily say better, but a more streetable engine. And we're trying to achieve that aesthetic
Yeah.
with all the modern sort of stuff. And then you can spin off to that. And then if you were to make a clone, like some cars can be cloned.
I was going to talk about
Some
that
cars
too.
can't be cloned. So like,
What is a clone?
I would say pretty much any of like, say the SS cars, like any of the GMSS cars.
Oh,
some
like
of the
Chevelle?
Shelby cars, some stuff like that. Whereas like Porsches, you can't necessarily clone a lot of them. So they're more tributes. So like the Evo 2. The Evo 2 has a very vastly different chassis like than a 190. So
Really?
you're building a tribute, you can't build a clone. Whereas if, like, we're getting a little bit technical, but like if you go and buy yourself, say, a 70 Chevelle,
Yep.
there's no built-in body modifications that make it specifically an SS.
Yeah.
So you can literally go buy every part and piece
And just swap them in.
and put it in there, and then it becomes a clone. So other than the VIN number and like the build tag,
It's an
there's
SS.
no way to differentiate it. It performs and it is aesthetically exact same as the SS. Whereas you get into like some of these RSR lightweights where they've tried to clone them because the values are like in the millions of dollars. They had thinner body panels, they had lighter glass, they were seam welded, they were reinforced in different areas. So when you do that, you're essentially building a tribute car rather than a clone.
But I mean, technically, that is kind of cloning it, but it's just a heck of a lot more difficult to do.
Yeah, like to the point that people, like the values of them, like now they're doing like metallurgical testing, like carbon dating them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because-
to be able to tell?
To be able to tell, because
That's
people were
crazy.
taking it to that level. Because like say a normal car is 200 grand.
Yeah.
An RSR lightweight from that era is like $1 million.
Woo.
So that's, there's some value in create. And when Porsche did it, they just grabbed one off the line and sent it.
Oh,
Like the documentation was so
no.
poor that there's literally more RSR lightweights in reality than were ever produced.
Yeah.
And there's no
That
way
is-
to differentiate. Like,
Oh,
it's
why
how
did Porsche do that? No.
Yeah.
Whereas like you get like Chevelle SSs, they know exactly how many produced, where they're produced.
Yep.
So the documentation, especially to those guys, it's crazy. Like SSs and Corvettes, like those guys are completely different. But Porsche, just like you wanted a race car, they just grab one off the line, turn in a race car for you. Here you go.
That's
But that-
crazy.
yeah.
The documentation was very poor in that era.
Yeah. That's kind of what makes Porsche so fucking amazing.
Yeah. So,
It's because that was their whole MO in business and
Yeah.
manufacturing was pull it off the line, go race. win, fucking go home, you know, with,
Win on
with,
Monday,
with
sell
a
on
front
what
full of
thing they
groceries,
have.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
fact that they could just take one and turn it
Yeah.
into a race
That's
car,
pretty
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So, yeah,
So,
clone
anyways, we
cars.
got a little off topic.
Yeah. No, I feel
That-
like, no,
I
it's
think
still on
that's-
topic.
That's the way I would classify these things as far as like tribute,
Yep.
straight up clone, and then kit cars, and then like again like Superformance. I think would be more like a tribute. Because they're
Yeah, I feel like Superformance should be considered maybe like a kit. I think it's a kit car.
it's not really a kit car because you can't buy it and build it yourself.
Oh, but they sell it
Don't
to
you?
you.
It's like a manufactured car. Like you order it, spec it, and then they build it for you. So I don't think you can buy a kit from Superformance. I could be wrong, but I mean, when we saw them at Barrett and all these places, like you spec'd it and they built it for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas a kit car is like boxes are showing up to your house. And
Yeah, like
away you go.
Factory
It's more
5.
Factory 5, yeah. Like
You
it's
know, like
hands-on.
Factory 5 kind of like they're setting the bar kind of in that way.
Yeah.
You know, from what my understanding is like, yeah, you literally fucking buy every part and it comes in like boxes, kits. And you
Yeah,
put it all
like-
together.
I love
like it's
that.
like adult it's like adult fucking
Legos.
scale modeling.
Yeah.
1-to-1.
Yeah, like I love that. I feel like it has always been my dream to build a kit car from scratch.
Yeah,
like
same.
because like the Factory 5 kits are actually not too bad too. Like at least the basic kits, like they're like 20 grand.
Well, I think they take a lot of the work out of it so that your foundation, like I think they've created the foundation pretty solidly.
Yep.
So you're going to have a decently safe, well-driving car when you're done. But then leaving all the finishing up to you, that's where you see the vast difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
I
mean?
think
so. You're not
that's-
fabricating control arms. You're not doing any of that stuff. So even if your at bodywork and interior and your style sucks,
You will still have a
underneath,
good car.
You'll have a decent car.
Yeah.
Like you'll have a
Mechanically.
mechanically, you should have a decent car.
Yeah. Yeah, visually you're catching the vibes, right? Like you're going to have something that's significantly better to drive than pretty much anything that those cars were modeled from.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes too, you can like have you guys seen any of these Factory 5 cars for sale? I'm curious as to if if there's such a big difference, because you mentioned of like the finishing aspect of it. That's what differentiates, I guess, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if that translates to if someone is, for example, is selling one or getting tired of one. Oh, I want to sell it.
Yeah.
If that translates to the price of these cars,
100%,
or
right.
not.
Well, because you have so many different options for drivetrain too.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
you could
true. I
have a
forgot about
Coyote.
that.
You could have all these different things. You have different brake options. So your level, like I think the base kit is 18 grand.
Yeah.
But I
Insane.
mean, you can option it right out, and the thing's 45 grand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that you got to watch as to what's going on.
Yeah.
But
And-
those
and-
ones is pretty good. They got a lot of templates, and it's pretty hard to screw it up.
Have you guys seen a Factory 5 kit in person?
Yeah.
many.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say the most difficult one that I've seen done the poorest is that GTM or whatever.
Yeah, what would they call that one? Is like
Oh, it kind of looks like a Ford GT. Is it that
A
one or
little
no?
bit, yeah.
Or the one that looks like its own car, like it's separate?
No, the one before they made their own cars.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's
the
like a GT something.
based on it looks like a Ford GT, but
Yeah,
not
kind of
really. If you look from like
mildly-
2,000 miles away,
Yeah.
but yeah,
yeah, Tim and I we got asked to go and look at one for a potential client, and when he was like, "Yo, my dad and I we built this car," and they assembled all the pieces from the kit as you might imagine. But we went there because they were like, "Yo, I don't know how to make this thing,
Streetable.
finish and be streetable, from this point." And so when we went, it has like these really crazy sort of like, I don't know what you. Anyway, let's just say where we live, we get a lot of like rain. Things like that are like a big part of like our reality here, and like weather stripping and seals and everything here are really, really important. And that was one of the big failings that we remember seeing, and that was like, okay, well,
There's no
wow,
real
there's
consideration for it.
no real
You live in
consideration.
California, Arizona, you don't
You're
mind driving
fine.
your windows down.
yeah.
You're golden,
Right.
but
So like they built in these things like and there was like they would expect you to put like a just a chunk of foam or something in there, and that's fine if you're like Arizona, Southern California, anything like that. where rain is like few and far between. But like here, it's not part of our reality. And it was like, okay, well, I can see why the entry level point of buying this kit car was so, reasonable.
Yeah.
Because of all those other little things that, needed to be done after the fact. And we're like, and so we put some time into it and we thought about it and like, okay, well, it's going to be about this much, we think, to make this thing a proper functioning car and something that you could drive, year round if you chose to. And unfortunately, the number was way too high, so we never got our hands on it.
I would think like this is a perfect little thing. What he's discussing is like the single biggest failing point of every kit car I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, because that's the hard stuff.
Yeah, that's
like doing the big moves and putting body panels on and slapping a motor in and putting big wheels on. You're pumped, and then it's like the tedious stuff.
Yep.
Like that particular car, we needed to create window tracks. It
didn't have window tracks.
No. Like because it's got the little slidey windows. But you can't have that here. So like a bunch of different stuff like weather stripping, so you can get wind noise down, and you're not sweating your bag off in some little hot box of a car.
Yeah.
And then you got window mechanisms and all this different type of stuff to make this a functioning automobile
car. Yeah.
But nobody wants to pay for that.
Yeah.
I think in that particular thing, we're like, okay, we're probably like 40, 50 hours into making
just
proper
those,
window tracks with a mechanism so you can roll your windows up and down. That's $5,000. $5,000 for something that doesn't seem.
It's not. Yeah, it's
like you're not big shiny wheels.
No.
Yeah.
It's not something tangible.
Yeah,
that you can like
tangible.
check
That's
it out.
the word. Yeah.
So like you look at Countashes and all those type of things, and it's like once they start getting to those, either they get excited and like, fucking, I don't care, let's just rip. And they don't care if it's things like
vibrating, all the panels are just air,
water flicking in your face, like all that. No windshield wipers. They make the interior out of MDF and wrap it in there so the thing looks like a shit box inside. Like that's where the failings come in. But everybody likes doing the big moves. It's all that little stuff that makes it an actual proper functioning car that always gets overlooked.
Always. And that's why you almost never, ever see them driving around
on the street. Yeah.
They're
and
always
90%
parked.
of them, like, I think you just invited me to some kit car page. Because, like, my dream...
I did?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Because you're showing me some Countach that's for sale.
Oh,
and
yes.
every one of them, I can tell you, I've probably been on that page for 2 months now. And it's like 90% of them are 90% finished.
Yeah.
Like they're never all the way.
Yeah.
Like they either don't have interiors or they don't have wiring. They don't have any of these things because they never made it part of their plan. You slap the body on, slap the engine, put the wheels. And for some reason, I do not know how, they always end up painted.
Yeah.
They have no interior, no
Fucking
wiring,
blows
no
my
plumbing,
mind.
but somehow the car got painted.
You just get excited, man.
Yeah,
Come
man.
on.
Yeah, that's
you
crazy.
You want to see it in one color.
I would have
It's like,
done this thing as a fully functioning, properly driving car.
before you.
And then we're done. Okay, cool. We don't got to climb in and out of it, drill any new holes. We don't got to add stuff. Now we paint it.
Yeah.
But somehow these things are painted red right away. And then they're just
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. That is such a common mistake that you see so often.
Yeah.
Man.
And then what do you guys think about people that build kit cars? So we're moving away from like the manufacturer stuff. So like from, we're moving away from like super performance and all of that stuff. But classing their car, for example, like a Countach, they build it as a kit car, but classify it as a real Countach. Put Countach badges on it, 5000S, like all of that. And like whenever you chat with them, like, yeah, this is a real Countach. What do you guys think about
I don't think I've ever encountered that guy.
Oh, dude.
I don't think I have.
Oh.
Like we used to, it's funny because where our old shop used to be, there's a guy building Diablo spiders.
Oh, wow.
And you'd see that thing roll out of it. He did a really nice job of them. And it was like factory glass, wheels, like really, really high end. And it was like it would pull out and you'd look across the parking lot and you're like, damn, that thing is sick. And then it would drive away and you're just like...
The engine sound?
Yeah. It's like V6 Fiero, just... And you're like, man...
Yeah.
It was
such a fucking letdown.
such
Why?
a letdown.
Like, I don't understand why they use Fiero engines, though, or why do they use Fiero in general? Like, because it's
Mid-engine,
mid-engine?
small
And
chassis.
Chassis is easy to
Super
extend.
cheap.
Super cheap.
Yeah. And we all know Fiero wasn't fucking good for anything else.
Yeah, so it was a really cheap SSR.
Yeah.
Like the cockpit dimensions were relatively close, very similar in actual design. Like if you look at a Countach, the Fiero, the cockpit layout is
Almost
like a
identical.
mildly modified version of Countach interior.
Yeah, and if anybody doesn't believe that, check them out on your own. Do a side-to-side comparison. You'll see it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense why people made kits of them or replicas of them, because they were so easy to kind of like not necessarily interchange parts, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a simple thing to do.
So you also haven't seen a person that passes off their kit car as an actual car? No.
I've seen people behave as though it's real.
Yeah.
But I've
Same
never
thing.
actually seen somebody like, yeah, this is real, and try to, dupe
To lie
somebody.
about it? No. I've never seen anybody do that with a car. I've seen somebody do that with a motorcycle once, though.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it actually just happened again the other day.
Oh,
at the
gosh.
shop.
What happened?
Some guy came and said he built this electric motorcycle all from scratch, and it's like clearly some retrofitted, I don't know what. But anyways,
Yeah,
we had
that's it.
another guy tell us at a bike show one time that he basically rebranded a Hyosung street bike as a DeLorean, and then like
What?
went on TV, because we were doing TV interviews as part of this whole event. Went on TV and straight up told people that he had built this thing single-handedly in his kitchen.
Oh, no.
And not only that, he misrepresented the entire thing. Like, mild steel chassis, told everybody it was titanium, like, all this stuff. And this
Yeah.
was like
Oh,
a box
no.
stock Hyosung street bike, like $23.99.
Yeah.
And he basically, what did he do? He like chromed the thing, put DeLorean logos on it, and straight up tried to tell people that he had built this
Oh,
from
gosh.
scratch
No.
in his house, in his kitchen. Like, it was
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, it was super insulting because
It was
we
the
were
wildest
competing for like basically the best of the best
We can find
Canadian.
the clip. You need to put it in
Oh,
there.
if we can find it, I'll put it in.
find
So
it,
yeah.
check
I
it
know-
out on
I know.
video.
I actually showed these other guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Anyways, that was so that was that. I've never seen anybody do that with a car.
Yeah.
But like as far as like putting the badges and all that stuff on there, I really don't have anything against doing that.
Yeah.
Personally, as long as the build quality and everything about that particular build was, as perfect to the original as possible.
You don't have a
But
problem with that?
like, if you're gonna tell people that it's a legitimate, let's say we'll use Countach as the example. If you're gonna tell everybody that it was a legitimate Countach, but it actually isn't, even though it looks like a perfect one, I have a problem with that because
Yeah.
that's just lying.
That's not right,
and that's
man.
just stupid.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why not just own up to saying this is a kit car that I built?
yeah.
And can you even tell the difference? Like, look at it, and like,
Yeah.
and like, get the accolades from that
Yeah, it being a
accomplishment
kit.
rather than lying.
because I mean, the reality of it is the values of these cars are so expensive.
Yeah.
So it's a viable way to get something like that.
But we talk about doing
So
this all the time.
There's no real disgrace in it at all.
No.
Because you're still going to get a huge amount of time and investment in it.
Oh, yeah.
So even if you're into this thing for $100,000, $150,000, that's pretty admirable. Like, because the original ones, like for a long time, it didn't make sense to me because you could buy a Countach for 100 G's.
Yeah.
Because nobody wanted them, and now they're crazy. Now they're $500,000, $1 million bucks, depending on what iteration it is. But so it's still a pretty crazy thing to achieve. So I don't know why you would need to take it to the next level and try to dupe anybody.
No. See, nowadays, I would say, and because we all dream about this in the shop, is like, how dope would it be to get like something like a really good quality kit car,
Yes.
like a Countach, for example, and modify the shit out of it.
Like, I want to get one.
Like
and
that'd be
make it
so
rip.
sick.
Yes.
Like, make it handle, stop, and actually rip. Because we're lucky enough to know a bunch of people that have legitimately owned Countaches, and not one of them has said that it's an awesome car. They all like, it is horrible.
Yeah.
It is a horrible car.
Wow.
But the one common thread with all of them is they bought it when you
was
could buy
cheap.
them right.
Yeah.
And then they sold them, and in the interim, they've gone crazy.
Yeah.
So they all regret having sold it, but none of them regret
Driving it.
driving it. Yeah. They all, they're like, it's shit, but I wish I'd have kept it just because of
Yeah.
the values. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the values of those Countaches are insane. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, and like the early Countaches were apparently pretty shit, but then like the later iterations, like the quattro
5,000.
valves and shit
Yeah.
like that,
Quattro
those ones were
valves.
supposed to have been like quite significantly amazing to drive. I think Matt Farah talked pretty in depthly on what it's like to actually drive a Countach.
Which one does he have? One of the later ones?
I think his is like mid-year,
Oh, okay.
like 80s.
But he had some really valid points about actually driving cars like that most people don't do. Like
Yeah.
in today's day, most people don't drive them the way they're intended. I mean, we're getting a little off topic right now, but like, anyways, you could build one now from a kit and have something that drives significant, and that's a smart play.
Yeah.
Because you get all the aesthetics and everything that it represents, get those feelings, and use modern stuff and make it something that's actually really good to drive. Who doesn't want to do that?
'Cause I think that's the reality of it. Like that was the whole premise behind the Evil Evo. Is I wanted to build the Evo because the original Evo is not fast. It was fast on the track, but as a street car now, basically everything's going to decimate.
Everything.
Yeah, when you think about it in comparison.
So like to build an Evo that just ripped, that's what I'd love to see in a Countach.
Yeah.
Because a Countach does not rip.
No. I mean, it has like 300 and something horsepower.
fast.
though. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can drive it fast, but it doesn't rip.
No. And
Like,
you would not
by
be comfortable with
not by
doing that.
modern
who
standards,
would
like,
do that
Like
now?
flooring it, like taking it to red line and
Yeah,
like
like-
taking it through corners. I would be terrified of
Well,
doing
the
that.
value of the car is too high.
Yeah, not
You-
just
you
the value.
don't.
It's an old car. Like things are not built now the way they were built. I mean, you can say that in a lot of different ways, but I feel like it is still like the new Lambos are a lot better drivers than the classic Lambos.
Yeah.
Like just a driving dynamic standpoint.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you look at that Huracan, and a Huracan does everything as your 15-year-old boy mind thinks it should do.
Yes.
You can peel the tires off of it. You can do donuts. You can drift it. You can rip. You can't do that in Countach. It does not live up to your Hot Wheels standards.
No,
man.
not at all.
Testarossa, same thing. You'd be lucky if you could spin the tires in that thing. You
True. I mean, you can spin it quite.
can spin it, but you're buying a clutch. for
Yeah,
it,
that's
right?
true. Yeah, about the cost of maintenance and ownership
Yeah.
of those original cars almost turns you off if you're not a person
Yeah.
that has $1 million, like $100 million in the bank or something.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that would be why I would love to build a kit car or like
Yeah.
something of that form and just make it as good as it can and just look like the car itself in question. So if you guys could build we've already talked about the Lambo, if you guys could build any car in history and
Countach.
make it a Countach, that's it?
It's coming.
That's it?
Just waiting.
Really?
We've dabbled a couple times, but
If we were in a better position a
time and
couple of months
space,
ago,
we would've bought that
bought that one that
Really?
came up.
Oh.
Yeah, because one did come up, and we were like, "Oh, this is so perfect for us."
Makes sense.
Oh
but
no.
it's just a little bit ways away.
Yeah.
Did it
'Cause, like,
sell?
you look at that. Yeah, you look at that Lucifer built one, and it's like
So cool.
it's almost there, but there's so much left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even that thing's, sorry, it's a pile of shit. Like the aesthetics and the things that they did to it is kind of where my mind goes. Like I can get behind that, but the fact that it's got some clapped out
350
305
or
350
305,
in it
yeah.
and all those types of things.
Was
it's
it the
like-
one that was at SEMA?
Yeah. So it's like they spend too much time on aesthetic. Like I would have immediately ripped that out, put LS in it,
Oh yeah,
because it has to run and drive the way it looks.
True. Maybe they'll
Like,
do that in the future.
It needs
but
to perform the way it
Yeah.
looks.
it looked good though. Like
That's
just
the
seeing
biggest
it on
disconnect with
pictures.
kit cars.
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, it looked
you have to
tremendous.
have the visual and at least the
performance, yeah.
sound need to be balanced. They have to be there. So like, if nothing else, when you're like at a red light or whatever, and some like kid or somebody is like, "Yo, man, thumbs up, yeah, rev it." If you, and you're like, bah, bah, and then it's like shooting fire and shit. Heck yeah,
you can still
man.
do that to a 350.
Oh, yeah, but it's a turd, man.
Yeah, but they did.
So
They
V8
they missed the mark on
Yeah.
that completely.
Really?
Like you pop the hood and it's got a big distributor
Nah.
with some cheap ass Taylor wires just all spaghettied over the top. That's not cool, man.
Nah, man, it works, but it's not cool.
It'll get you there and get you home, but it's like it's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just fake. It's all hype. Like,
True.
If we're not all pushing towards fucking making some shit cool, then you're failing.
True. Yeah.
so they're halfway there, but
I thought you were saying you like what's it called? Is it the Ferrari P4?
yeah.
Yeah. So you
But
wouldn't
see,
do
that's,
that
that's
to
the
it?
opposite end of the spectrum. Like, I'm watching these guys hand form aluminum bodies, putting Testarossa flat 12s in them, which are going to probably be better than what originally was in that car.
Yeah.
And then the level that these guys are taking it to them, these are like $500,000, $750,000 replicas, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely amazing. But that's the way the other end. So that's like, I don't even know how to describe that. Like, that shit is everything I would dream to do.
Yeah.
Like, you're taking that chassis and that platform and making it better than it ever was.
Yeah.
See, that's and that stuff's been going on since cars began. Like, sort of coach building, bespoke, one-off-ish sort of models.
Yeah.
That's
that's
the
like-
ultimate version of, that's like a tribute, the ultimate tribute.
So that's a whole different class of enthusiasts coming into the game, as opposed to just trying to cheat it and get just the look.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are
They hand form, like, it's insane. Like, you guys should check out the Facebook groups. I forgot what it's called. Like,
some of them are absolute works of art.
not fiberglass. Like, so yeah, like the metal and the aluminum and
Yeah.
the way they shape it. I'm like, you guys are insane.
Yeah, it's
And I can say that a lot of those cars that I'm seeing are nicer than the originals.
yeah,
'Cause we
that
went to
is
the-
safe to say.
We went to the Ferrari factory and we looked at a lot of that stuff, and it was like kind of one of those meet your heroes kind of deals.
Oh.
Because like their welding was terrible, and the panels forming was like, they're different from side to side. Like, they're a one off. Like, they look amazing, but they could be a half inch from side to side. But you look
Half
at
inch.
they're
my
hand
gosh.
forming these things with mallets
that's a
and
big
and a
difference.
tree
Yeah.
stump. So it's like, it's amazing, and the aesthetic, like from 10 feet away, it's beautiful. Like, it's crazy what they've done. But like the race cars, that shit is lumpy as shit.
Yeah.
They just banged that out and got it on the track.
Yeah,
And then you look at the welds, it looks like they welded it with a coat hanger.
yeah,
But then you look at the engine and the castings and what they did and created in that time, it's like a work of art.
yeah. Really, it is.
So he was like 100% an engine builder,
Yeah.
Wow.
whereas the body was just like something
Second thought.
It's secondary for sure.
Yeah.
Like, just put a skin on it. Let's go. So yeah, that's one of those kind of things. So nowadays, like, we're all sort of like inundated every day with like amazing build quality. Nowadays is freaking insane.
There's so many talented people.
So like, people out there are they have like these we all had posters on the wall. I would say most of us did. And like, who doesn't want that? So if you had the skill set, would you not try to create that?
Yes.
Heck yeah, you would.
100%.
And of course, we're not manufacturing it, right? So we don't have to
Make
build
it-
to a schedule.
Yeah, for the next guy. No.
We're just doing it for our own creative outlet, the passion of what it is. So it's going to be 100 times nicer than the OG one ever was.
Yeah.
Because it
so-
was built for a purpose
Yeah.
and on a timeline.
Right?
Whereas the
That's
stuff
true.
now is like, man, some of these guys are so talented. And then now you get the opportunity to add in like stuff that we're dabbling in, 3D scanning, and 3D models, and all this type of stuff, an opportunity to make a buck from a 3D scan. So
That
now
blows my
You have
mind.
an absolutely perfect, like they've created software that'll make you a buck. So then you just see out all your plywood and start making a body.
Oh my god.
So now you have these perfect bodies that were nicer than they ever were.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to add in modern technology, and you can actually go drive this thing.
Yep.
So
Yep. So
not cheap, but
yeah, and so like, I think like, yeah, talking about the money part of it, none of it's cheap. It's never going to be cheap. It's always going to cost significantly more. Like, you take the Factory 5 one, it's going to be
the other side
double
of it
or
is
triple.
A lot of these things now, because of the level that they're being built at, and people are going to bitch because some of the numbers we quote are crazy, but this is reality.
Yep.
Like, you see it. We live in this world. Some of these numbers are crazy, but you're starting to see that the time and effort into some of these, we'll call them recreations instead of replicas, they're getting real money at the back end.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of time and effort that they're putting into it, you're seeing some of these cars sell for like $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is insane. As a recreation. Like traditionally, kit cars were like 10 grand.
Yeah.
But now you're getting guys that are building real crazy things, and they're getting real money for them. I'm seeing hand-formed bodies sell for like $150,000. Like the guy will just form the body, and it's this beautiful hand-formed aluminum thing, and I'm just like, man, I wish I could afford that.
I know.
I would be.
It's the same for me. I'm just like, I want that like desperately.
And it's like some of it is so, like, this is, I don't know, pick a country. It's like some guy in the Ukraine that's just poured his heart and soul into this thing to make it whatever, and then they sell it. Whereas here you can't do it.
Yeah, you have too many.
The thing would be like 300 grand.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy spent like, I spent 7 years making this. Give me 75,000, and it's just like, man, I want to put that thing in a box and send it over here.
Yeah.
Like I know there's this. Speaking of like somewhere in the Ukraine, but what's it called? There's these guys on YouTube that make like replica supercars out of literally nothing.
Oh,
like
the
Thailand or something.
I've seen a few videos.
Oh my god! I think it's called NHETTV or whatever. Like it is insane. They literally start with clay, and then they mold.
Yeah, but they're starting with river clay.
That's insane.
They're not buying bricks of it like we do.
True. Yeah,
they're literally
they just go get the clay from
the river, and then they make these things out of wireframe clay, and they're
insane.
building Bugattis.
Oh my god! And some of their things, like they've done the Bugatti Chiron, they've done the Ferrari, and it's interesting too to see the progress where they've come from, because some of their early stuff looks not very good, but like as they've gotten better, like it is mind blowing.
But then you see
The
some
engines.
of that stuff is like got a 650 motorcycle.
Yeah. Or front wheel drive Toyota motor, but that's what they have available to them.
I've seen one where it had pedals.
Yeah. But I feel like I almost give them the passing, like I almost like, it's fine in that respect, because again, that's all they can afford. That's what's available.
That's available, right?
So.
Like I watch those videos and I just fall into a trance watching this shit, because like mad respect to anybody that puts the amount of effort into making something like that. Like to get to completion on something like that is such an amazing amount of commitment.
That means you have no excuse.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I watched a guy make his daughter a whole Ferrari out of like wood.
Yeah.
He was like hand sanding and shaping and lacquered this thing and looked amazing. And it was like a car battery and some old scooter motor, and she's
wow.
But I mean, it took this guy probably half a year to do this.
Yeah, or longer.
And then you can't put window stripping in your car?
True.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Watching those videos puts things into perspective, and I'm like, wow, I'm
lazy as fuck.
Yeah.
I gotta pick it up, man. Shit.
Oh my gosh.
That's like
so
that
awesome.
TikTok. It's like, if you want to have nice shit and you don't have any money, you gotta make
it. Yeah,
that's those guys.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
But I just wonder how they're exposed to that kind of stuff.
I know,
because like even here, like a Bugatti is like, that's a completely different realm.
Yeah.
But if you're walking around on like recycled car tire sandals and you're building a Bugatti, that's like the disconnect is insane. Like
it's crazy.
So yeah, I don't get that part of it, because like we see supercars every day. They don't see supercars
at all
ever.
Yeah,
they got dirt roads and like they're just gonna whip up a Bugatti. Like it's mind bending, man. Like absolutely mind bending.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. You're gonna respect that shit fucking deeply. Those guys are amazing.
I think anything else before we feel like we've covered a massive like gamut of things. Like it's so much we've talked about. Kit Cars, replicas, tributes, one car we haven't talked about. What are we I don't know what to classify this as, but what are we doing to the Delahaye? Because I know it has a factory Delahaye chassis, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Chassis, drivetrain.
Yeah.
And then, but we're building a body for it.
Right. Yes.
So it originally came with a body.
Well, this one's kind of debatable, because this was actually like their test mule.
Okay.
So this one, in its sort of its lifespan, could have had 3 or 4 different versions of a body on it.
Oh, okay.
So like that's kind of a thing. Like in this era of car, we've done Bentleys and Aston Martins and all that kind of stuff, and that's each car was sent to a different coach builder. So you bought a chassis.
Oh, yes.
You didn't buy a finished car. You bought a chassis, you sent it to a coach builder. So each respective coach builder did everything a little bit different. But it was within that era. So by our today's standards, we kind of almost have to dumb it down a little bit to stay on what the aesthetic of that time was. So each one's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So there's really no documented version of exactly what it needs to be. So like these Corvette guys, these guys are a whole different breed. It's like, no, we need to have the little pink pen mark on this bolt, and we need this, and this guy named Doug worked on the Friday afternoon shift, and he did this. Whereas the Delahaye, it could have went to anybody.
Yeah.
Could have went to a blacksmith, and he hammered out some brackets and slapped it on there. So it's like you have a lot more freedom to create.
Wow.
So it's not near as structured and stiff as what you think a car of that level would
be held to,
because everyone's different.
Yeah.
Literally every single car is different.
That is so cool.
And it's like in that era, so much of it is like was tested on the chassis. So like, oh, we have a new steering box, put it in this car. So there's like 40 of the chassis. Every one has like a different version
iteration
of the
this,
steering box until it progressed to the end, until maybe they changed chassis design. So it's like, it's not fixed. Every car is totally different.
Yeah. So for us in the shop with, today's tech and build materials, it's our challenge is to recreate, the things that were, in that car in sort of the same kind of manner that they were done in that time. So that's a challenge for us.
So we almost can't make it too nice. So you almost have to do things the same as the way they would have done it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be too nice. And then it'll be very obvious that it was, reproduced at a later date.
Oh, shoot. So is that considered then a rebody? Or what would you even classify
I think
that
that's
as?
just more or less a restoration. But like that particular one, because we have some freedom in the final look of it, because it could have been so many different ways. And there were many different versions of that exact same chassis.
Yep.
So there's no wrong version of it. Like one year it might have had this nose on it and this tail. The next year it'd have a different tail, maybe the same nose. We changed the hood a bit, and there were different fenders. Maybe had this kind of fender and then had an over fender. So we can literally do whatever we want. There's no really fixed version of it. Whereas you look at like the Bentley, the 31 Bentley, they were all kind of the same, but the way they were executed was by different craftsmen, I guess. So there'd be little different versions of how a very specific thing was created. But ultimately, at the end, they all look the same.
Yeah.
So, like, they're hanging a specific fender, but this guy made the bracket this way, this guy made the bracket that way. So you can basically make the bracket any way you want, as long as it's kind of done in that era. You're not going to start TIG welding stuff, and machining mounts and all that kind of stuff is kind of rudimentary.
It's so crazy.
So
yeah, it's a different way of going about it for sure, right? So it's hard.
Does that put what's it called? Not muffler, but does that inspire you, like your creativity, or does it do the opposite of like, oh, you have to work with certain restrictions that you had?
I think a little bit of both. Like I would say both, because you have to be creative about how you approach how you're going to recreate it in the way that they did it, which it goes against, like, I mean, we have modern tooling and manufacturing ways now that are significantly more refined and precise now. And you can't throw a piece of CNC billet onto an old, prototype Delahaye race car.
yeah, like I think if you watch like Jay Leno's Garage, you watch his restoration blog, like when the cars were built in that time, labor was cheap and technology is expensive. Now we're the opposite. Technology is cheap and labor is expensive.
Yeah.
So like you look at some of those parts and pieces on it, and they're just so massively labor intensive, and you look at them and you're like, man, how did they create this almost 100 years ago?
Wow.
But at the time, the guy was making, 25 cents an hour? So if it took him 4 months to make it, it's like you're into this thing for like $32.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like the car was like maybe $8,000
Yeah.
because it was like crazy high end.
Yeah.
Whereas now you
know.
try to recreate it on a CNC machine and you do all these things, you're going to get $30, $40, $50,000 in to try to recreate this thing, because you got to machine it, and then you got to backdate it.
Yeah.
So either you're dimpling it to make it look like it's cast, or doing some kind of chemical process on it to degrade it in some way so that it's wild. It's completely different
interesting
world.
Yeah,
but some of the stuff that you do, like what it would cost to do now, is insane. Like you look at it, you're like, man, I can CNC machine this for $3,000. Or we got to produce a mold, cast it, do all these different things. It's going to be $20,000-$30,000.
Yeah, which I mean, and that has its place, and that's the route that you have to go in some instances. But yeah,
so
we're lucky that we can do that now.
Yeah,
we can scan. Let's say if that car had like some sort of broken part that was like irreplaceable, like some cast piece, scan it, model it, print a mold from it, make a sand cast from it, pull a casting out of it, recreate it. You're done.
I think the attitude in that whole world is changing a little bit.
How so?
Like you got Goodwood Festivals feed.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have all these vintage races, and like I think the reality of what it takes to use these cars and race these cars and drive these cars, there's a lot more leniency towards parts that work.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have to make something and then maybe it's not perfect and it's not original and it's not whatever, they give you leniency because they'd rather see the car going down the road.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
there was a period of time where it was like, nope, that's not original.
That's not original.
Yeah.
Get out of here, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the part number, it doesn't have this casting, it doesn't have this little thing. Whereas now it's like they're giving more leniency and there's more appreciation to seeing the cars work and drive.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, this is what I had to do to make the car go down the road. They're like, cool.
That's sweet. We're just happy to see it move.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to see it function. And that's kind of cool to see.
Whereas that pretentiousness, that was like, I'd say probably in the 90s.
Yeah.
Where you heard like, well, you had to get a hold of some
Yeah.
guy and who knows where.
Yeah.
Like he's the only guy and
Yeah.
he has the papers from the thing. And if you don't get his little stamp of approval, your car's in worse.
Yeah.
Like now it's like, I don't care. I'm driving my car.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Even
to
with
see now.
muscle cars and all that kind of stuff, you're starting to see it now. Like people don't care.
No.
I don't care if the numbers match, man. I just want to rip. Like,
Yeah. It's an exciting time in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see all that stuff changing because it's kind of, I hope, bringing, customs and classics and things back into like the newer generation of automotive enthusiasts. I hope
I think
that the whole thing
making
doesn't
it
die.
reliable and making it drivable is there's a resurgence.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is
Because even people that associate customs to like junk,
Yeah.
like look at our customers now. These are not people that you think would be building custom cars, but because they believe that it's progressed to a level that it's like a reasonable thing now, and they can have that aesthetic, the reliability, and the performance. They're spending real money on them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see it all the time. Most of our customer base are people just like that. Like they're not the typical.
You're not seeing them at A&W on a cruise night. They don't do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're just out driving their cars and enjoying them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so you get these kit cars, these recreations and all these things. These give you an avenue in which to have something that has all the visual cues of something that you always dreamed of having in a way that, works and functions better than it ever did from the factory. And yeah,
Having it out
actually,
there.
and a lot of them like, one of my bucket list cars to build is the Daytona, like the Shelby Daytona.
Oh, that's a good one.
And like, good luck ever seeing one of those things, like an OG, like a fucking actual one, driving around. You just probably won't.
They are
so
insane
freaking rare.
value, millions.
I don't really know the details, but like, if you could drive that car around, wouldn't you?
Yep.
I
And
think
you can
having
now.
those cars out there and being seen it can't hurt the industry.
No.
It's worth so much.
No.
Like it's perfect if they're
Yeah.
out there doing stuff and being seen and kids are seeing them and all that kind of stuff. It can do nothing but help us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I fully support it, but just do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just it. I think if you're gonna do it, go into it knowing that the end 10% is going to be where 90% of your effort is.
Yes.
That's going to be what makes it.
And
what it is.
that is literally what is going to make or break the potential and the enjoyment of this
That
project.
applies to pretty much any car. Mm-hmm. Anything that you see where it's like the difference between something that's really nice and something that's junk is wiring and plumbing.
Yeah.
It's like that last 10%.
Yeah.
I don't care what else you did to your car. You pop the hood and it's just a shit show under there. I'm going to assume the rest of the car is junk too.
Yeah.
And that's those cars. It's like, you know, we talk about it all the time. Like if you get in and this thing looks amazing and you get in and it's rattling and there's wind noise and nothing functions.
And there's spaghetti everywhere.
Yeah, spaghetti everywhere.
Yeah.
That just takes away from it. And
Yeah.
That's what hurts the industry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think people need to start putting more value on that part of it.
Yeah.
Like they need to put that into their equation. Like this is going to cost this much. This is going to cost this much. Instead of just the broad strokes, like I'm buying LS, I'm buying a kit, I'm
That's
buying
it.
wheels. We're all
Dunzo.
set.
Yeah. Yeah. Couple hours every Sunday afternoon. Fuck.
We're going
You
to
know?
rip.
Yeah. Couple
Be awesome.
beers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think there's too much beers in Kit Cars. 100%. I think there's
Beers
more-
should come out at the end of the
You bring
workday,
the beers out
not
to
the beginning.
celebrate.
Yeah. So, Elvis, you never did say what car you would want to build.
Ooh, I would love to do a Porsche 917. I
mean-
always loved the way they
That
look,
one falls
man.
deep in the performance side, though.
Oh.
Man. You can't come up short on that one.
Yeah.
No, just LS
Yeah.
it, man.
Flat 12.
Well, yeah. So
Nah.
you could LS it. You would have
LS.
you would have performance, but would you have the sound?
Oh, I don't care about the sound. I just want it looks great. It goes fast.
He's
It looks great. It goes fast. It sounds good. LS's sound good. You can maybe put like an X pipe in there.
Yeah.
Equal
you
length
put
headers.
a
maybe?
nice 8-into-1 with equal length.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
primaries.
Exactly.
Sound
And you
dope.
would have a glorious sounding engine.
That's something I got to show both of you.
Okay.
Rob will appreciate that. Falls right into this whole thing.
Oh.
I took a picture specifically.
So a 917 Porsche Elvis
Yes.
is like
Look
track
at this.
specific, you know. Oh,
Oh, what is
that is nice.
180 degree
That's
headers.
180 degree
Oh
headers.
my
Check it.
gosh.
That's a work of art.
Yo,
right there.
hold on. I'm gonna take this to the screen. I'll just put it on the video. If you're watching this on video, look at this.
Nice.
Oh, dude.
So- So years ago, I came across an image very much like that, and that was like what fired me up, and that's why I was like, I gotta have 180 degree headers on my Datsun.
yes.
You know.
So that's
That
the only
looks
way
cool.
you can put an LS in a 917 and make it sound even remotely like
Yeah.
what it's supposed to.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so
just to
good.
geek out for a moment, 180 degree headers on a V8. Most people don't know this, but you need to go 180 degree into separate primaries that then Y into a single.
Oh, really?
That's what gives it the exotic sound,
It sounds so good.
right? If you go just straight, duals, you'll miss the mark on that exotic sound. So
Yes.
Ford GT40.
keep that note.
Oh, it does that? Oh, okay. That's very good to know.
But on top, which is crazy.
Yeah,
That's what
and it's
creates that
so
aesthetic.
sick.
So
You know
sick.
the spaghetti,
Big pile of snakes.
Yeah.
the big pile of snakes.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
cool.
if you're gonna do it right, and
Yeah.
you will balance out in every way: aesthetics, performance, sound. You'll be catching vibes, man. That'd be a dope car, 917. Hard to imagine that thing driving on the street though, because of ride height.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Just kind of like
Scraping
when you're
everywhere.
talking about the P4. I mean, you're talking specific track cars.
Yeah.
Ride height on the street, that's going to be a problem.
We'll figure it out when we get to it.
But
It's
there's
fine.
ways around that now too. So there's ways around that.
Yes. Awesome.
Wait.
I think that's it. We will see you guys next week. Let us know what you guys think about kit cars or replicas or clones or recreations, all of the above. And like this video, give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it 5 stars on podcasts, whatever podcast platform you're listening to. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.